Hello world. Good morning, namaste and Nisam Bulavinaka from Sydney, Australia. I am Sashi Singh, the host of Sashi Singh's Talking Point. Welcome once again to our weekly rendezvous as we begin Sashi Singh's Talking Point. As Fiji heads for general elections 2022 with polling day on 14th December, we began our series of interviews with the opposition party leaders last week with Mr. Savinathan Narumbe, leader of the Unity Fiji Party. Over the next 3 weeks, we will continue to speak to all the major opposition party leaders. We shall, over the next 3 Sundays, be speaking to the People's Alliance Party, as well as the Fiji Labour Party and the National Federation Party. That is the following 3 Sundays. And then on the last Sunday before polling day, that is on the 11th of December 22, we will have all 5 major opposition party leaders together on the one forum on SSTP. The program will address their campaigns and allow each opposition leader a window of opportunity to give their opposition leaders address to the nation. I hope that is something you will all look forward to. Fiji, the countdown is well and truly on. That is, in just another 31 more days, Fiji will vote for the government of their choice. Remember, Fiji, your vote has power. Exercise your right to vote. Today, we continue our interviews with the leader of the Social Democratic Liberal Party, SODELPA. This will be a program not to be missed because you'll be able to hear all 5 program. I've already said that, I think, yes. Well, I hope wherever you are well settled in to enjoy what promises to be a captivating, engaging, and enlightening interview in today's episode 44 with my chief guest, who is Mr. Viliame Gavoka, leader of the SODELPA party. We will shortly discuss the SODELPA leader, whether his party is in a disarray with all the upheavals it has had in recent times, what are its big ticket items in their manifesto, as well as discuss what the party brings to the table of national politics, and what are the expectations in general elections 2022. All that and a whole lot more with my chief guest in just a short while from now. As always, I request that today, as we go right around the world by the wonders of Facebook and YouTube, that you please share the SSTP page on your own timelines so that we may share the interview with Mr. Gavoka with as many interested people as possible. And as always, to ensure that you receive instant notifications for all future programs, please like the SSTP page and follow us too. And with that, I welcome you once again to the Thinking People's program, Sashi Singh's Talking Point, live on Facebook and YouTube. As always, we begin today's episode 44 with a quick recap of what has been making the news headlines in Fiji and Australia with our regular contributor, Nikhil Singh. Nikhil, good morning to you.
Good morning, Sashi, and good morning to all the viewers.
All right, Nikhil, let's get straight into your segment. Allegations of indecently annoying a woman on 2 separate occasions earlier this year against National Federation Party leader Professor Biman Prasad will not be proceeding any further following a directive by the Director of Public Prosecutions to police not to lay any charges. Please tell us what the DPP has said.
Sashi, the DPP in a press release said, and I quote, "The police docket was reviewed by the Office of the DPP in the usual manner, but our conclusion was that there is insufficient evidence for a reasonable prospect of conviction were the matter to proceed to court. As part of our review, we analyzed the charges proposed by the police as well as other possible charges and available defenses. We also noted the representations made to us by Professor Prasad's lawyers, as this matter does not meet the evidentiary threshold, police have been directed not to file any charges.
Now, this matter has led to a very public spat between the Director of Public Prosecutions, Christopher Pride, and Police Commissioner Sitiveni Ngiliho. I cannot remember seeing anything of this nature until this past week. Please tell us more about this sort of ugly argument in public.
Well, you're right, Sashi. This is unprecedented. The police commissioner called a press conference on Wednesday last week in which he made several allegations against the DPP. The DPP, in referring to that media conference by City Meeting Galiho, he said that the police commissioner, I quote, sought to impugn his office and him personally by suggesting that the decision not to charge Professor Prasad was made for political reasons. The DPP, in his own statement, says that Giliho had called him in a very agitated state and that he had told the DPP that he had to charge and could not understand why the DPP would not, and accused the DPP of making a decision to favor NGOs or some other miscellaneous human rights group. Now, the DPP has returned served with two questions, Sashi. He has asked one, why, given the high profile nature of the case, did the police commissioner not send the file in the usual way to the office of the DPP for advice? And two, if the police commissioner is not prepared to take legal advice from the office of the DPP, whose role it is to provide legal advice to the police, from whom did he take legal advice? Christopher Pride says unless the police commissioner is able to satisfactorily answer these questions, it is difficult to know how the public can have any confidence in the police commissioner to deal with these matters properly, Sashi.
Yes, and this story is far from over because they are bigger. Well, there is another big story breaking in Fiji right now, but we haven't been able to confirm that. So we'll just keep that on the side. And you and I have discussed that. It's far, far from over. Well, Nikhil, former founder of the Foundation for Rural Integrated Enterprises and Development, FRIEND, and National Federation Party candidate Sashi Kiran, has accused Fiji's Attorney General of being missing in action during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. What has Ms. Kiran said on this, Nikhil?
Well, this was reported in Fiji Village. Kayum claimed that the National Federation Party proposed candidate Sashi Kiran was using Friend Fiji for her political advancement. Kiran fired back immediately, saying, "Who cares what Sayed Kayum thinks anyway?" She says when Sayed Kayum tries to play politics with Friend, he does not insult her, he insults all of Friend's workers, volunteers, and all the people who gave the organization millions of dollars in money and goods to help people affected by the COVID-19 outbreak, while Sayed Kayum was nowhere to be seen and he left Dr. James Fong to do all the talking, Sachi.
Well, yes, one group of people who were right in the middle of things during the COVID pandemic, friend and also our friend from Lautoka, Alan Lockington, these were people who were seen on the ground level, and these were people who were really assisting, families who were going through severe hardship. Another story to follow. The political fighting has now begun. Now, let's turn to how preparations are underway, Nikhil, for the elections. Several political parties have submitted names of provisional candidates as part of the nomination process. I understand the People's Alliance has dropped one of their provisional candidates from the original list of 55 nominees. More on this, please.
Yes, Sashi, somewhat updated this story after the Fiji Elections Office announced that they had started approving candidates. So far, the Fiji Labour Party has nominated 44 names to the office. 41 names have been approved so far by the Elections Office, and the remaining are going through the verification process. The National Federation Party has filed 55 nominations. 51 have been approved. SODELPA has filed 53 candidate nominations. Fiji First Party has filed 55 nominations. New General Party has filed 5 candidate nominations, and all of them have been approved. And the People's Alliance has filed 55 nominations, but notably missing from the list are 2 actually of the initially announced provisional candidates in Sajal Narayan and Liliana Warid. Narayan, who has been a guest on this program, is said to have voluntarily pulled out, while Liliana Warid, who was dropped from the list of 55. Now, Warid had caused some controversy with a social media post earlier this year. Party leader Siti Mani Rambuka told the media that Warid did not make the cut due to, a quote, electoral concerns. The 8 former members of SODELPA who deflected to the People's Alliance have all been named as the People's Alliance provisional candidates. Sashi.
All right, and staying on election news, political parties will be battling each other, no doubt, to secure as many votes as possible. But several opposition parties have agreed to be on a unity ticket when it comes to one critical aspect of the elections. What do you have for us on that front, Nikhil?
So, Sitiveni Ramuka has told Fiji Times that 4 political parties have joined hands to closely monitor proceedings at each polling station, but the list does not include the Social Democratic Liberal Party or SODELPA. Ramuka said, and I quote, "We have a joint party team. All the parties are working together. That's the Fiji Labour Party, National Federation Party, Unity Fiji, and People's Alliance." He goes on to say, it will involve a lot of people because there's more than 2,000 polling stations. And if each party has 2 agents on at any one time, they may have 4 at each polling station, taking turns in shifts so that we have an eye on the proceedings right through the day. Sashi, perhaps your guest today will be able to shed some light on why SODELPA is not part of this monitoring team of opposition parties.
We'll put that to Mr. Ngavoka, and I'm sure he'll have a very good explanation um, for that. Now, closer to home, Nikhil, in our own backyard, the federal government's Industrial Relations Secure Pay Better Jobs bill has cleared the first hurdle. Where to next?
So, Labor's industrial relations legislation has passed the House of Representatives, the lower house, after further government concessions limiting the application of multi employer bargaining. The bill passed 80 votes to 56 on Thursday afternoon, with the independent MPs Zoe Daniel, Monique Ryan, Bob Ketter, and Andrew Wilkie joining Labor and the Greens in favour. The Secure Jobs Better Pay Bill, the most extensive changes to workplace laws in 2 decades, will now move to the upper house, where the ACT independent Senator David Porcock, who represented Australia in the rugby union, is the swing vote who has driven a suite of changes to accommodate business concerns. So all eyes on the upper house as to how this bill will fare there, Sashi.
And Nikhil, just weeks after the Optus data breach affecting 10 million Australians, last week, 10 million Medibank customers fell victim to a cyber attack, resulting in private details and medical information of these customers being put in the dark web. The Australian Federal Police have pointed the finger at Russian criminals. What's the big news here, Nikhil? I'm one of those customers.
Oh, that's quite unfortunate, Sashi. The AFP Commissioner Reece Kershaw said intelligence pointed to a group of cyber criminals operating as a business, and Australia would seek to speak to Russian authorities about the crime. Commissioner Kershaw said the group behind the attack was loosely affiliated with past significant breaches in countries across the world. Medibank has confirmed the personal information of more than 5 million customers have been released so far. And the AFP is now working with Interpol, which has direct contact with National Central Bureau Moscow to take the investigations beyond borders, Sashi.
Nikhil, thank you very much for your input in today's program. As always, job well done. Have a wonderful Sunday and a blessed Sunday. Take care. We'll catch up with you very soon.
Thank you, Sashi.
Cheers now, Nikhil. Have a nice day. That's the news highlights from Fiji and Australia, and presented by Nikhil Singh. To our viewers who are logged in, who are in tune with us, Nina Moreno, Big Bulla, and thank you for the stars to you, Vijay Ram, those sending stars to us. So we appreciate that. And, it's very nice that you do so. But to all of the viewers with your emojis, etc., thank you very much. Apanisa Rokombaro, nice to have you on the program, bro. Also, Ashley Kumar wrote and said, "Good morning, Sashi and viewers. Enjoying the show and your beard." And she's asking whether I'm growing that for Movember. Well, Ashley, all I'll say is that wait till the end of November and we'll see. Um, I go through different phases, just like the four seasons. Anyway, well, you are watching Sashi Singh's Talking Point on Facebook Live. We ask the questions that Fijians all over the world want answers to. As I say, Fijians want to know. Please like and follow the SSTP page if you have not done so. And as always, I must share this important announcement with our viewers. Sashi Singh's Talking Point, SSTP, recognizes that questioning, constructive arguments, and opinions are part of conversation, but posts with aggressive, personal attacks, profanity, name calling, swearing, defamatory in nature, and or threatening will be removed immediately and offenders will be blocked from being a part of the SSTP program. So let us all observe these rules and enjoy the program. And Nina Moreno, you asked for a hint. Someone gave you a hint, but that was not the big story I was talking about. The only hint I can give, it's got to do with bugging. That's all I'll say, and there you have it. Now it is time to meet our chief guest on Sashi Singh's Talking Point. He has appeared on SSTP on a previous occasion, and I thank him for readily accepting our invitation to come on today's program. Our chief guest today is the leader of the Social Democratic Liberal Party, SODELPA, Mr. Viliame Gavoka. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Viliame Gavoka to SSTP. Good morning from Sydney. Good afternoon in Fiji. Nisam Bulavinaka, and welcome to SSTP, Bill. Cheers. How are you?
I'm very well, Sasi, and thank you for the invitation once again. I enjoy your program very much. I like the questions you ask. We have nothing to hide. We are ready to be from the next government. So please go for it.
Wonderful. I mean, I like the way you accepted the challenge, and you said to me, "Don't hold back. Anything goes." Look,
Absolutely.
I'll start off and I'll unpack a number of things. You've released a manifesto that I will take you through some important points and ask some very relevant questions to you. We'll discuss some of the ramifications of the problems that you've had in the party, and we'll look ahead at your party's plans and campaigning, etc., and find out what your predictions are right at the end. And I'll even give you a chance to address the viewers this morning with whatever message you have. So let me begin today's episode 44 of SSTP by asking you about the campaign period. As I said in last week's program with my chief guest, that this was a first in Fiji's history. The campaign started in late April this year and has been an extremely long one. Now, Bill, how would you describe the campaign period and what has been the effects of such a long campaign?
Sashi, it has been a period of uncertainty. That's the best way I can describe it. When you are doing something, you want things to be certain. You want to know what you're allowed to do and what not. Here, the campaign opened in 26th of April, and there's all these rules about our, about the, in particular about our manifesto, which was not very clear from the beginning, Shashi, because of these new requirements, the Electoral Act 2014, Section 1164C, requiring us to quantify everything in dollar terms on whatever we promise. We never could get a definitive answer from anyone on how to go about it. We asked for templates, they didn't have it. And we asked if there was a competent authority to decide whether our manifesto was okay, whether we made the mark. No, there was nothing like that. So it was very frustrating. until we started posting our policies on our page, and they acted against us, saying pull it down or else. So which we did, and then he went to see them, and I asked all these questions, and some clarity began to emerge, and we then knew how to progress with this, because without the manifesto we could not campaign. I had my people out there and not saying much. So it was a very frustrating one. Clarity was not there. But now that we have done it, it has been a very worthwhile exercise for us. We are actually prepared a budget, Sashi, that says that on the day we become governments, we hit the ground running. But it's just that the level of uncertainty was very frustrating, Shashi, and no one was there to give us any answer definitively.
Well, that just goes to show that it's not a level playing field. They bring about laws, they bring about rules, but there's no person to talk or to guide parties on how to act using those rules. I mean, there's a trap that sits there. You can't do your costing properly, boom, you're gone. Now,
Yeah.
we'll come to your manifesto. My next question is, you mentioned the Electoral Act 2014. Now, what effect has that had on campaigning? Because it has placed a greater burden on how campaigns have been conducted, because let's face it, some of the things are, if you sold a roti parcel, you need to account for that. I mean, what kind of burdens did you and your party face under the Electoral Act for campaigning?
Oh, Sazi, it's been very burdensome. We keep saying, look, let us enjoy our democracy. Politics is something that should be all inclusive. People should take part in this thing. But there's this huge degree of apprehension in the country. Sasi, we went out on Friday to file our submission with the SOE, and we were all wearing the SODELPA uniform, that blue shirt that we have.
Yes.
And one thing you notice, Sasi, the civil servants, I feel sorry for them. They cross the street when they see us coming. Sasi, they cross the street when they see us coming. It's really sad about Fiji right now. And it's all part of this element of fear that is here. And it's clarity is missing on what their rights are. It's actually quite sad. And then, you highlighted the fundraising aspect of it, where if you sell a roti parcel, you need to declare where you got the roti parcel from and who bought it. And it is particularly difficult for us being a Itoke party, and our fundraising is always the roti parcel, the lovo pack, the kati, and all this stuff. So it makes it very complicated. And I said from the outset, let us enjoy our democracy. Let's remove all these rules. It only happens once every 4 years. There's a lot that needs to be done there, Sasi, to get people to relax, to get them comfortable with the process of democracy, and get them to participate. Sasi, about 178,000 people did not vote in 2018.
Yes.
90,000 in 2014. It could be this sense of apprehension, why bother? If I do it, I might end up with something, kind of stuff. Huh? So we want to bring that back, remove all these restrictions. Some are really ridiculous in many ways, and just get people every 4 years, enjoy your democracy, make the decision on how you want to be governed over the next 4 years.
Well, I'm not surprised you mentioned that when you and your party delegates walk on the streets wearing your SODELPA shirts, that people move away. I've actually heard real live accounts of people working in the civil service, where in the old days you could gather for morning tea and have a good talanoa about the Sevens or the Hong Kong Sevens last weekend. These things have stopped because I've heard that when people get together and start talking, the bosses, the people in power, feel that politics is being discussed, and they are taken to task, and things have changed in Fiji in a downward trend. A lot of freedom's gone. Let me move on. Let me move on, please, and I want to address some of the reasons why your party's been in the news, and let me sum it up by saying for all the wrong reasons. Now, it may seem that it's in a bit of disarray. You may disagree with me. Now, how did you see the defection of 8 of your party stalwarts, leaving and joining the People's Alliance Party?
Sashi, that word disarray is unfortunately misplaced. It does not in any way describe SODELPA. Let's remember one thing, Sashi. We are the only party that came out of the manifesto five weeks ago. The first. We follow the rules. One thing that we do, Sashi, in SODELPA is that a lot of us are rugby players.
Mm-hmm.
We don't argue with the ref. We get on with the game. Okay, so we've decided to do that.
Okay.
I have been talking about the iniquities of Fiji First for the last 8 years. We got us nowhere. So we focus on doing things according to what the referee wants, and we have done it. And we are the best positioned party right now in the country. Our flyers, Shashi. So this is one for my good friend Tanya. These are now the hundreds of thousands of this are now circulating in the country. The only party that has its flyer with its policies circulating around Fiji. So we are the most organized party. We went in to file our submission on Friday. It went in. A few minor little things, but accepted, all done. I just want people to realize that SODELPA is highly organized. We may not be getting the front pages in the local newspapers. We get attention for the wrong reasons, but we've kept our heads low and done the hard yards, and we are ready than any other party right now in Fiji. We are the most ready party for the election, Shashi. Now, you mentioned about the 8 parliamentarians,
right,
that went across. Shashi, loyalty is very important to us, and I think people in Fiji know that. And our party is generally an Itoke party. This loyalty, when you're not loyal, you get punished. I think those people are going to be punished by the voters. We knew for quite some time that the allegiance was elsewhere. We had given them 2 opportunities to apply for a ticket. They did not apply, but they kept sitting in parliament as SODELPA parliamentarians with all the trimmings and all that. But we knew that their heart was elsewhere, and the people of Fiji saw that. The people are not backward here. They know what is happening, and it was very sad that we could not act quickly or in a manner to clear them out, because our constitution is a little too democratic. The process is quite involved, removing people, but we decided to let them go, to let them continue, let them finish their terms. But it was always said when they were identified as SODELPA parliamentarians, when we knew very well that they were no longer with the party in terms of their commitment and the loyalty to the party. Yeah? They have gone. The deck is clear now, and I have my team of 53. And the caliber and the quality is quite phenomenal. Sashi?
Okay. Now, you said that the way the former SODELPA MPs had left a bad taste in the mouth. Why was that? I mean, you knew they were going. They didn't file their papers with you. The writing was on the wall. It was like one of the worst kept secrets. You would have expected it.
Yeah, look, but it was they control the happenings in parliaments. and and they were not towing the party line. I let it go because I was doing quite a good job of it myself and my other colleagues. It was a very awkward situation, Shashi, and I'm just glad that it's over, that they have gone. We are no longer SODELPA parliamentarians. We have SODELPA candidates, and we are ready to do the right thing over the next 31 days or so.
All right. Now, another issue that I want to just raise with you. What of the Moses Mbolitavu factor? Now, here was a situation where you had a member of parliament chosen by the SODELPA supporters in the last election in 2018 who had turned rogue and had started supporting the Fiji First agenda. Why did you not cut him off completely from the SODELPA party?
Shashi, Mbolitavu we believe, was the person behind the Ngona Binaka reports that severely compromised the work of the party leader at the time, Rotemu Mukepa. He was taken up by the party, and the disciplinary committee had recommended that he be expelled from the party. So he went to that extent. But it was the president then, Ratu Nengama Lalambalabu, who decided to forgive him. And in SODELPA, the president has that kind of power. So we were all very disappointed because at that point, at that juncture, he should have gone. The people who were part of the disciplinary committee were renowned people, people of standing in the Fiji community, and their recommendation was that Mbolitavu should be expelled. It was Ratu Nengama who decided to forgive him, and a lot of us were quite saddened by that decision. And he just continued to play rogue. There was a case on the Bill 17 about the TLTB amendment to Section 12. We all agreed that we would oppose it, but he spoke for it, and I took steps to remove him using the Constitution of Fiji, I think Section 63, I think, to remove him, meaning that the party leader, myself, and the general secretary write to the speaker and say this guy voted against the directive of the party, which was pretty clear-cut. But unfortunately, at that time, Shashi, voting in parliament was by acclamation, and he was zooming from Lambasa. And the speaker said, "Look, I know he spoke against your directive, but I could not determine how he voted because it was acclamation by Zoom." So he said, "Why don't you take it up with the Court of Disputed Return?" Which I did. He went to the Chief Justice, and we had a very good case. Everyone saw him speak on the side of the government against the side of SODELPA, but against the he said, "Look, I could not determine how he voted." So that voting thing was a critical element in that case. And it was during COVID. He was zooming in, and voting in parliament was by acclamation. So we have tried, Shashi. We have tried, but the circumstances were not there to enable us to remove Mbolitavu from the ranks. What you're saying, Shashi, is that we do have provisions in the Constitution to remove anyone who does not peddle who does not toe the line with SODELPA. Huh?
Okay. All right, we'll leave that topic behind. We've got far more important things to discuss as we move on. Now, let me ask you about the walkout of a few female SODELPA candidates from your special general meeting last week. Now, SODELPA proposed candidate Faith Grace said that they were told that you'd be endorsing the 45 candidates for the upcoming elections, but were surprised that the motion was moved to confirm the deputy leader party position. What happened there?
Shashi, Faith did not walk out. She left the meeting to come to the office. The office has been working on a 24/7 basis, Saturday and Sunday. I take my hat off to my people. They don't go to bed. They work 11, 12 midnight every day. and 7 days a week. And all she was doing was to come back to the office. And unfortunately, the media took it as a walkout. And that's it. She didn't walk out, so she was coming back to the office.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, the media, I mean, I got that off the media report from Fiji anyway. Let me ask you more questions. So let's now talk about the Great Council of Chiefs, the GCC. You and I have discussed that in our previous interview as well on SSTP. However, now that the election is right around the corner, it becomes a very pertinent subject to discuss. I've read about your views and also from your manifesto. Share your views about the GCC in terms of reinstating them, please.
Thank you, Sasi. Sasi, for the Itoke, we need that body to be in place. They are the pinnacle of who we are, and a lot of issues relating to us, Sashi, can only be resolved by the Great Council of Chiefs. We also want them to be in charge of our resources, to decide on who sits in the board of the ITLTB. There are lots of areas in our life that need to change to be, relative to how we live today, like a new village bylaws to help today, a restructure of the provincial administration, lots of disputes on titles and land areas and all that like that. When they are there, we know that we can take these issues up to the supreme body for us to resolve what we need resolved. What we propose in SODELPA is to reestablish them, but under the provision of the 1944 Itoke Affairs Act. Mm-hmm. In that act, Sashi, the minister, together with the Itoke Affairs Board, can set up any council that is beneficial to the Itoke. That's it. He has the power to do that. So the Minister for Itoke Affairs will, together with the Itoke Affairs Board, create that council. It is within the law. And that is the way out for us. It did not be complicated. Very simple. Great Council of Chiefs to be part of the Itoke Affairs structure, and they will be sitting at the hierarchy of it. But that's how you want it to benefit the Itoke. Shashi?
All right. Well, you've also stated that the Great Council of Chiefs would not be responsible for choosing the president as was done previously. Now, why is that?
Shashi, that was part of the 1997 Constitution. Under the 2013, that is no longer the case. They appointed the presidents, members in the Senate. They had other powers that were more encompassing across the across the country. For this one, we want them to be confined to Itoke affairs. And you also have the UNRIP, which is the United Nations thing that gives sovereignty to any structure within a native people. So that's how we're going to do this, Shashi. It's going to be purely an Itoke body to look after Itoke affairs.
Having said that, it will form under the Ministry for Itoke Affairs, etc.
Yeah.
Then, which form and with what responsibilities will you reinstate them? I mean, if they fall under that ministry, are they then answerable to that ministry?
Yes, they would be. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a council that can be set up by the minister and the Itoke Affairs Board. So it's purely under the Itoke ministry.
Yeah. Okay, and what responsibilities, if you can just briefly tell us, what responsibility will the GCC then hold?
They will be, they will, anything that is traditionally, where we need the hierarchy to decide, we will take it to them. Like this government trying to introduce a village bylaw, it wouldn't get anywhere because our people said, who's authorizing this? We need the village bylaws. We need to strengthen the village unit, but we will not accept it unless it comes from the high chiefs. So that's the kind of role they'll need to play, to give sanction to some of these initiatives that we know are needed today and cannot be done by any government. It has to be a purely Itoke thing.
How do you think the chiefs who form the Great Council of Chiefs will accept such a proposal, considering the sort of body it was before they were removed?
Shashi, I think they'll welcome it. They know that there are lots of things that need to be done to strengthen the Fijian, the Itoke administration, to correct some of the ways that the things are slipping from our hands, from our fingers. I think they'll welcome it, Sashi. And we have put in place $3 million a year for the Secretariat for them to meet regularly. So it is going to be a body that will be meeting quite a bit with agendas that will be relevant to our people. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Sorry, you may finish what you were saying.
Yeah, no, I've done it. We've got a sum aside, and we will rebuild and assess it. The GCC complex. It got burned down. That'll be where they'll sit. And so actually, there is some fund in the Itoke Trust Fund that was set up by Ngarase. Today, it has about $120 million. So that's the kind of structure that had been set up to enable bodies like this to act independently from government. So it's going to be almost like a standalone kind of body, and to advise purely on Itoke affairs.
All right. I'll give you a very short break. Have a sip of water if you need to. You are watching Sashi Singh's Talking Point, and our chief guest today is Mr. Viliame Gavoka, the leader of the SODELPA party. Please like and share the SSTP page so that we may share the broadcast with Mr. Gavoka with as many interested people as possible. Sashi Singh's Talking Point, the Thinking People's Program. I'd now like to discuss with you, Mr. Gavoka, ethnic-based voting. Is it true that you and your SODELPA party want to bring back ethnic-based voting?
Ethnic-based
voting, ethnic-based voting.
I think that is covered under the 1997 Constitution with the communal and the cross-voting thing. It has some merits, Shashi. But, while saying that, I believe 2013 should be good enough for us to form the next government and take the country forward and correct some of the things that have happened over the last 8 years. Sashi, we have had 4 constitutions since our independence, right? 1970, 1990, 1997, and 2013.
And one.
I don't know of any country in the world that has had so many constitutions in such a short time. Huh? So, a part of me believed that the 1997 one, the formula that they had set up, would be the best for Fiji. But we have the 2013. We can do a lot out of it, and we are focused on 2013 right now going forward.
All right. I mean, let's leave the 2013 Constitution where it deserves to be. But getting back to that ethnic-based voting, I want you to address that and tell me what would be the logic behind such an idea.
I think, Sasi, the beauty about that was that every community in Fiji would be guaranteed a seat in parliament. That's a bit that I like about that. Everyone. the Itoke, the Indo-Fijians, the general electors, you were virtually guaranteed a seat in parliament, and the government of the day was a multi-party government. That is a part that appealed to me, that I like about that one. But again, it's something that is not here now. I rather focus on the 2013 one.
All right. I mean, when you say that you want to bring back ethnic based voting for some seats to maintain a percentage of representation in parliament, tell us, what do you mean by that? I mean, in terms of percentages of representation in parliament, is it not true that if you take the current parliament that's just finished, that the Itoke was very well represented, the Indo-Fijians were well represented, there was representation of people in parliament. So what about this ethnic-based voting? What do you intend to get out of it? Who's not represented?
Do we have any? I look, okay, we do have that, but I prefer a formula that guarantees that you have a seat in parliament. And 2013 does not guarantee us that everyone would be represented in parliament. And there's no multi-party kind of government under this one. Those are the aspects of it that appeal to me. But as I said, it's not here. We'll move on.
All right. Well, you mentioned the 1997 Constitution. Which parts of the 1997 Constitution are you intending to bring in? And most importantly, how do you incorporate that in the current 2013 Constitution?
So, see, let's remember one thing. To change any aspect of the 2013 Constitution, you need 75% of the votes in parliaments, and then you go to a referendum.
Yes.
It is virtually impossible. Okay, virtually impossible. While I think back and on that and make my preference, I know full well that is totally unrealistic. It is not possible to bring anything back. So we are here with 2013. Let's move on with it.
All right. You keep saying let's move on. I'll move on because I got this from your own manifesto. This questions are based on the ethnic-based voting. You also said, and I've again got this from your manifesto, that you want some open constituency seats. You recently said that in the press as well. Please elaborate on this. This is the old style of voting that we had, where we had communal seats, we had general seats open. So you've actually said now that you also want some open constituency seats. Please tell me more about that.
Shashi, my model right now is for the Itoke. This is the model that we have. We call the turf control model. The Itoke have their turf. The other communities go on national. That is what we have right now. I'm not looking at national voting for the Itoke community. They go to their constituencies and they operate from their turfs. My Indo-Fijian colleagues, they go national. That's the way we are doing right now, Shashi. I think there could be a misunderstanding on this one. This is the SODELPA model, Shashi.
All right. I'm going to move on because I just don't seem to understand where all this is coming from and where it's heading. So let's talk about some big ticket items, and I'm referring to your party's manifesto. Now, the SODELPA manifesto has been launched, as we all know, and you've alluded to that, first party to have launched it. And at the launching, you said, "We are ready to be your next government." SODELPA was the first to launch its Lewinivanwa 2022-2023 manifesto budget estimates. You said that the budget estimate covers all aspects of government services, and is a prerequisite for a government to govern. SODELPA has done this, you said, and it's an indication that the party is ready to serve our nation. Firstly, how would you describe your manifesto? Don't give me any allocations because I'm going to break that down myself. Just want you to briefly describe your manifesto.
Okay, Sashi, the going back to that 1164C, yeah, where you need to cost the manifesto, what we did was to follow exactly how the government does it. Okay, this is the government's budget that we get every year, and we did exactly that. We follow the template from head 1 to head 50, and costed out every head, and we put in what we wanted in our policies, and that's what we have, Shashi.
All right. Can you just lift that booklet you were trying to show again? Because we missed it altogether. So that's the government's budget, and that's the backdrop that you used.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Let's try to break down your manifesto into smaller parts so that we can discuss this in a bit more detail. Now, one of the big items in terms of allocations is the allocation of $159 million a year for Ethiopia affairs. Now,
Right.
in simple terms, that is an increase from the $15.4 million that was allocated by the Fiji First government. I'll repeat that. Your allocation, $159 million a year for the Ethiopia affairs. And as I said, in simple terms, that is an increase from the $15.4 million allocation that has been done by the Fiji First government. If we look at it, Bill, in percentage terms, if I'm correct, and I was never a good math student, it's an increase of 960 odd percent. My question to you is, why is there such a significant amount allocated to the Ethiopia affairs?
Thank you, Sashi. Sashi, we have to uplift the Itoge. And I've said this many times in the last 8 years and even before. Now, we will be pumping money into the villages and into the settlements to uplift them. What it is simply, Sashi, is that we have to intervene in a big way to uplift the Itoge. It is very obvious to all of us that they are lagging behind, and you need this degree of intervention to uplift them and keep them moving together with the rest of the communities in Fiji. I could highlight where we are going here, Sashi.
Yes, you can, because I note from that allocation, 82 million is going to be set aside for the upkeep and maintenance of informal settlements. You just mentioned informal settlements. So,
and villages. Yeah.
And villages. So by injecting something like $82 million for the upkeep, how will you see the money utilized?
Shashi, it comes down to about $50,000 a year for every village and every settlement.
Mm-hmm.
And you also notice in there that the Turani Koro, the headman of the village, will also be upgraded so that he becomes the general manager, or what do you call him, to really see that the development is focused, that is implemented, and the sense of discipline within the unit, the village unit, to upgrade people, upgrade the way we are, and move us forward. There are many things, Sasi, that come into this. You have to motivate them to be economically responsible, greater sense of discipline. I was referring earlier on to the village bylaws and the Great Council of Chiefs to be blessed, to give its blessings to the village bylaws. So all these things, you're talking about a huge restructuring of our people, and they need that kind of capital to make it happen.
Okay.
Sashi, look at it this way. We do this from next year. In 10 years' time, we'll all be proud of the quality of the living standard in our villages and in the informal settlements. Let's give ourselves a 10-year program and apply and intervene right now on the scale that we are proposing, Sashi.
Now, there is one item in the budget allocation for the Ethiopia affairs that I must raise with you, and that is the allocation of $42 million for provincial companies. That's listed in your manifesto. Firstly, what type of companies are you talking about?
Okay. Shashi, you will know that one of the biggest companies in Fiji today, I believe it's number 3 or number 4 in the stock exchange, is Fijian Holdings.
Yes.
Fijian Holdings started with a $20 million loan in 1982 at the instigation of the Great Council of Chiefs. From $20 million, it is now worth about $600 million or thereabout. I used to serve in it as a director. Now, Shashi, in every province in Fiji, there is a commercial arm of it. Mba has Mba Holdings. Lau has Goriatu Lau and Company. My place, Nandong Anabosa, is Nandong Anabosa Corporation. I'm chairman of that. Rewa Development Corporation. Every province in Fiji has a commercial arm, a commercial company. They are functioning, Sasi, but they are mostly in properties, and cash flow is a bit of an issue. And we just want to inject $3 million each of them over the next 10 years or so. And in the next 10 years, there could be another 14 Fijian Holdings company. That is where we're coming from, Sashi.
I mean, your intentions may sound good, but my question is, if the receiving company is a company, does this not mean that it's a commercial enterprise? And you've just said that most of the stock is in real estate, so to say. If they need cash, convert real estate into cash. Why would you allocate funds to a commercial enterprise? That's my question.
In the same way, Sashi, that we decided to set up the Fijian Holdings to uplift the Itoke and get them into commerce. Sashi, we have tried, there are individuals in the Itoke community who have tried in business. Some are thriving, but the vast majority have fallen by the wayside. We have tried it. These provincial companies are already in place. They are trading already, but they need to strengthen their balance sheets. As I said, I'm chairman of Nandong Anabosa Corporation. $3 million a year, if you pump that into Nandong Anabosa Corporation, in 10 years' time, we could be as big as Fijian Holdings. And that's what we want. We want to uplift the Itoke to be involved, to be engaged in commerce. This is what we're doing, Sashi. Let's call it a family vaccine, you call it whatever, but that's the way it is. That's what we want.
All right, okay. You have also allocated $100,000 for consultation in regards to empowering the Ngoli owners to approve the issuance of fishing licenses. What type of consultation will be carried out by this allocation of $100,000?
Okay, we need to consult with our people on the issues they have regarding Ngoli. You know about Ngoli, Sashi, yeah? In 1882, 1883, Queen Victoria had replied to the High Chiefs of Fiji and said, you will own Ngoli in the traditional way, yeah? Because in the British system, land, the sea belongs to the states. Our chiefs at that time had petitioned her if she could return ownership, for them to own it in a traditional way, and she agreed to that. But we have tried for many years, never could happen, and Garase almost did it in 2006. And it was one of the reasons Bainimarama executed the coup. He felt threatened by the return of the Ngoli ownership to the Itoke. That's fine. Ownership will continue to be the state, but there is an element of the duty of care regarding Ngolingoli. We want to discuss that. Hotels that are now sitting on the foreshore, on the water, the overwater bungalows, are not paying any lease at all, Shashi. They should be paying the lease to the owners of the Ngolingoli. And when you say owners, it's the people who identify with the Ngolingoli. Fine, is owned by the state, but the duty of care is for the government to make sure that that operation is sitting on a Ngolingoli that belong to a Matangali or Toka. They must pay lease in the same way they pay lease on the ground, on the land-based hotels. So that's one. Number two, today the fishing licenses used to be given by the chiefs of the Ngolingoli area. That has been taken away from them and now in the hands of government. You go to the Commissioner Central, Commissioner Western to obtain a fishing license. We don't want that. We want that to change, Sashi, because it's when it's in the hands of the chiefs, they protect the Ngolingoli. Now that it's in the government's hand, we're seeing a lot of abuse in Ngolingoli, Sashi, and I think it should go back to them. Number three, there's certain areas, like the village foreshore, that is always reserved for that village where they can fish. Like it was taken that this beachfront here, this is where the village is. They are the ones who are going to fish in here, and you can fish anywhere else. But what we have now, Sashi, is that even in those areas now, people are coming in with their boats and their engines and all that, and fishing right in front of the villages. And it leaves. It's awkward. Traditionally it was always reserved for them. So things like that need to be addressed. And in cases where you reclaim land from a foreshore, where does the land go after you reclaim it? So we want consultation on this. Get everyone to understand what the issue is, and make amends where you need it. So that's basically what it is, Shashi. A number of need to be clarified. Yeah?
So who will you consult? I mean, the consultation will be carried out by what kind of players?
It'll be a parliamentary consultation. Everyone is invited. You meet with the Ngolingoli owners. You meet with all stakeholders. Let them have a say. At the end of the day, you come up with a committee report, table in government, and you go from there.
All right. Now, in your manifesto, you've said that, SODELPA has said that the socio-economic lives of the Itoke people needed to be uplifted to standards consistent with other communities. I'm sure there'll be no qualms about this. The question is, though, allocating $159 million to the Itoke initiative, how are you going to fund such an initiative? Where's the money going to come from?
Okay. So SODELPA is going to introduce a resource tax of 5% on those businesses that operates largely using the resources of the Itoke. Yeah? Now, you will remember, Sashi, there were two taxes. One was known as the STT, the Service Turnover Tax, that charged 6% on the gross turnover of a certain group of businesses, primarily tourism and a few others. And after the STT, there was then another tax called ECOL, Environmental Climate Adaptation Levy, of 10% on the same businesses. So these two taxes will bring in $250 million a year to the government. They have been repealed. What we want to propose is we do a 5% on those businesses plus others like logging and fisheries and gravel extraction, to be the fund to help the Itoke. So we were charging a 16% tax. It has been repealed. We'll introduce a 5 to help uplift the Itoke, called the resource tax. That's where we are, Shashi.
Okay, and apart from taxation, excuse me, apart from taxation, you have said that the shortfall would also be financed through locally raised bonds and loans. How would you raise the loan for such an initiative?
I think the line there, Shashi, is about the whole budget. You go to the first page, it shows you, the total revenue of government, the total expenditure, and the deficit, and how you fund the deficit. That's where you're coming from. And our deficit is smaller than the government, and to make up the deficit is going to be through the normal way, where you raise bonds, you can raise money locally, or go to your bilateral and multilateral partners. Same as what this government is doing today, Shashi. Yeah.
All right. Now, Bill, you and I both know that land ownership is paramount to the Itoke. Do you think that indigenous land is safe under the 2013 Constitution?
Shashi, the question is not ownership. It has to be ownership with control. What we have is largely ownership without control. We want ownership and we want control. That Bill 17 that removed that Section 12 had taken control out of our hands, Shashi. So if you look into our manifesto, there's also going to be consultation on the structure and the roles of ITLTB. Some of those issues will be addressed as per as highlighted in our manifesto. That is it, Shashi. Ownership with control. Without control, there's no ownership.
So, in other words, to that question, where I asked you whether the indigenous land is safe under the 2013 Constitution, that would lead me to think the answer is no, because there's no control, as you say.
Without control, we don't believe ownership is there.
All right. We have recently learned on SSTP that there is a huge discrepancy when it comes to the distribution of lease money. You've alluded to that just a little while ago as well. An example that was used in this program is the example of the Vaturu landowners' lease income, which is at $41.75 per week, which is 99.62% below the current base poverty line in Fiji. Whereas, over the last 10 years, a total of $721.5 million was allocated to the Water Authority of Fiji. How is this just and fair? What's your comments on that?
Shashi, I mean, that's I'll need to look into that more closely. But I did raise a petition in Parliament, in the last Parliament, regarding Vaturu. If they can relook at it and see that the owners there, the owners of the land, can get a fair share of the resources that is being taken out of them to provide water in the entire Western Division. I think from Momi to Ntendamu, I think. So I did that. I did a petition on that. And there was some good hearing. And I hope to pursue that, Shashi. I hope to pursue that, yes.
Bill, the reason I brought that up is I'm all for the uplifting of the Itoke community to bring them at a level which is par with other communities that are better off. But I find it absolutely frustrating that here you have an example of the Vaturu lease owners getting $41 a week, whereas the Water Authority makes millions and millions and millions of dollars over 10 years. If you break it down, $72 million a year, if you break it down like that. I mean, there's no parity. It's not even common sense. So this is what I was referring to.
Yes.
Doesn't that frustrate you? Doesn't that make you angry?
Shashi, there are more cases like that, Shashi, and we will be looking into these things and help them rectify. There must be some parity, as you say. Yeah, I know those guys in Baturu. They live on this elevated part of Nandi, and from there they see the Nandi, General, and all those developments, and they're asking themselves, our water, is critical in those areas. But what are we getting? You've highlighted something very, very relevant there, very valid, and that's something that SODELPA is very determined to rectify, Shashi. You're absolutely right, Shashi. Yeah.
Well, I hope that if after the elections, if you form government or if there's a new government, that our landowners who lease our properties, that they are treated in a fair manner, in an equitable manner. That they're not left to grovel in the dirt. They've just given away valuable resources, and they ought to be compensated for that in a fair
Absolutely.
system. That's what I'd love to see. Bill, have a sip of water, have a break. I'll come back to you in just a moment, and we'll discuss Ministry of Health and Medical Services allocation as per your budget. You
Yeah,
are
absolutely,
watching
Shashi.
such.
I mean, it's not just not Vaturu. Up in Monasavu, there are also issues in there that we need to look at, Shashi. Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. I mean, really, that is core to what we want to accomplish as a
Yes.
government, Shashi. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I use Vaturu as an example. Like I said, if you look all around Fiji, they there are so many lessors of the property around Fiji that's all affected. So I'll come back to you in a moment, Bill. You are
Yeah.
watching Sashi Singh's Talking Point, and our chief guest today is Mr. Viliame Gavoka, leader of the SODELPA party. Please like and share the SSTP page on your own timelines so that as many people as possible can be part of today's interview. And to those people sending us stars and your emojis, your thumbs up emojis, and your love emojis, thank you very, very much. Let me also remind our new followers, if you're just watching SSTP for the very first time, welcome to SSTP. Today you are watching episode 44. If you'd like to catch up on the previous 43 episodes, simply go to the SSTP page on Facebook or on YouTube, scroll down, and you will be able to see every episode. Episode 1 with Graham Everett Leong, to last week's episode 43 with Mr. Savinatha Narumbe. This, of course, with Mr. Ngavoka, is our episode number 44. All right, welcome back, Bill. As I said, let us look at the allocation for the Ministry for Health and Medical Services in terms of your budgetary allocation. Now, your manifesto spells out that the government is responsible for ensuring that all Fijians have access to needed health services, including prevention, promotion, treatment, rehabilitation, and palliative care of sufficient quality, and also ensuring that the use of these services are free and does not expose any financial hardship. Now, we all know that the state of hospitals in Fiji is in a chronic state. Might I add that the state of the health service is in a chronic state of health itself, and no pun intended. Bill, given the state of the health service in Fiji, why is it that the SODELPA manifesto has decreased the budget allocation for health by some $11 million? A decrease of only 2.8%, but I would have thought the health service in such a chronic state, something needs to be injected into it to at least start improving the facilities. Your thoughts?
Shashi, you're right about the quality of the health services today. Yeah. What I've asked my guys to do really, Shashi, is improve what we have in terms of the operating equipment in all the hospitals. So actually, I was a hotelier, and in a hotel, the level of service will be determined by the operating equipment in every part of the operation. If the kitchen is not well, does not have the right equipment, food service will be impacted, and the likes. And the way forward is to immediately ensure that every outlet has its equipment fully operational. Too many times, our people go to a health outlet and either the X-ray machine is not working or something is not working, come back another time. That, to me, Shashi, is unacceptable. Focus on the operating equipment. That's what I'm telling my guys. Work on it. Make sure that whatever is there, make sure that it is working. Shashi, out of the 8 operating theaters in CWM, last time I checked, only 3 were operating. Why have we allowed that to happen all this while? That's what the focus is going to be immediately for me. Focus on the operating equipment, that everything must be at par. In the hotels, when you say par, a par is the minimum number you should have. Everything must be at par. How about the kitchens, the bathroom facilities? Sashi, we are going to put sums consistently every year to upgrade the hospitals, paint work, and all that stuff. I know there are a lot of novel ideas that are floating around. People have all sorts of great ideas to emulate some other countries. But immediately for me is to make sure that the operating equipment are all there and functioning. We have very good people, very good doctors and nurses. It's just that when you don't give them the equipment, service will be impacted.
I'll come back to you in just a moment, Bill. I'll just come back to you in just a moment. I have a comment here for Mesulame Satala. Mesulame Satala, if you're observing this program, I ask you to stop putting racist comments. This is your first warning. If you do not stop, I will have you blocked from SSTP immediately. I always warn people not to be racist in your comments, not to use derogatory statements, not to incite racial tensions. We've got enough of that around the world. I don't need people like you on my platform, so please desist immediately, otherwise I'll take action. That's a message for Mesulame Satala. You better stop it right away, otherwise you're gone. Bill, my question was, though, I can appreciate what you're saying about the kitchens, the toilets, the operating theaters. But my question was, in your budget allocation, in your manifesto, you've reduced the allocation by $11 million. Why would you do that? I thought you might invest another 20 million into it.
Shashi, I'll need to relook at that because it could have been an allocation that was moved to another heading. Certainly, the intention is not to reduce spending in the health sector. Shashi, yeah.
All right. Well, that's what your budget said. I'll give you that benefit. Now, I note again under that health allocation that capital construction is down by close to $1 million. Purchases of goods and services are down by $8.56 million. How do you explain this, given that one would have thought that any incoming government would have pulled out all stops to ensure that health was on the country's top priority list?
Okay. Sashi, again, I need to come back to you on that. It's certainly not intended to reduce anything. It could have been, like I said, could have been allocated to another head. and I'll get my guys to relook at that, Shashi.
All right.
But
Well,
yeah,
whilst we're
yeah,
talking, you've
okay.
got your team with you. Why don't you ask them to open that health page,
Mm.
and we can come back to that if they do find that. Um, all right. Well, here's a question that you don't need to rely on your manifesto booklet. Given that your health allocation is down by some $11 million, how confident then are you that the health and medical services will improve?
Shashi, yeah. Like I said, in terms of focusing, making sure that whatever is there is fully operational, that the staff are well looked after. We will look into the well-being, the welfare of the nurses in particular. A lot of them are leaving, so just bring back that sense of caring that appears to be missing in today's health sector. Uh, Again, Sasi, it's someone is not watching these things properly. Mr. Tikondu Ndua had highlighted a case of a door that had not been fixed.
Mhm.
I just find that to be difficult to understand. Why wouldn't you fix a door into a bathroom for months? I think it's more a management thing. I believe a lot of his outsourcing is causing a lot of problems. I remember the days when hospitals used to be squeaky clean. They used to be very clean. But now I go to visit now. It is not what I'm accustomed to, and I'm told that it's being outsourced. So what went wrong? We're looking at what went wrong. Why was it different in the past than what we have today? Yeah.
All right, we'll leave the health services there,
Mm.
unless, of course, you come to your reference point and we can pick up again.
Yeah.
Let
Okay.
me let us now look at the Water Authority of Fiji.
Oh, Sashi, just
Yep.
that free dialysis
Yes.
is something that we will put in place. It is very sad that people die in Fiji because they can't afford dialysis. It's about $200 a shot, and if you go in 3 times a week, you can imagine how that impacts on a family. Yeah? So for us, dialysis will be totally free, as you do, I believe, in countries like Australia, and I know in Canada they do give free dialysis. So Fiji, we will do that.
So, what is the current state in Fiji? I mean, dialysis is available, I believe, in CWM, but is it a pay-as-you-go thing or is it free?
Yeah, it's mostly provided by private operators,
Okay,
and it's about $200 a shot.
as you said.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Um,
if basic wages are so low and at $200 a shot, I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah. I
it's
mean, I've asked many times in Parliament, and the health minister has said that it's coming down. I believe in Lambasa it has come down to $70 or $80.
mm,
But that needs to be across the board in Fiji. I have a friend whose mother goes 3 times a week, and he's paying that $200 every shot.
wow.
So SODELPA will remove that. It'll make it free.
Bill, as you and I were growing up in Wayavi Lautoka, I remember those days of Lautoka Hospital, where you'd see workers from the PWD with their paintbrushes, their gallons of paint. Uh, you know, they would fix the doors. It used to be spick and span, and then
Absolutely.
something just went boom. PWD non-existent. What happened?
Absolutely, Shashi. I mean, We remember that. I mean, it was a pride of talk of the hospital and the way it was kept, so the upkeep. And exactly, 3 or 4 times a year they came around, painted and fixed everything up. But now it's being outsourced. And on PWD, Sashi, we will relook at bringing that back, Sashi. There are now PWD depots all over Fiji that are derelict. It's very sad. Those thriving communities. Where you have a PWD like Wayavi. You remember Wayavi? There was a PWD depot.
Yes,
It's totally,
a big one.
yeah,
big
totally
one.
derelict now. Totally derelict. It's.
Wow.
I went to Bonolevu. There are places in all over Bonolevu. There used to be PWD. There's one in Taunovo here in Deumba. We will bring that back, Sashi. They were there on the ground, on the spots. The potholes that we have in this country, you just fix some roads lately, and already there are potholes. I could go on and on, Sashi, but you are right. Hospitals would look better if the PWD people are back to look after all those public facilities. Absolutely.
I mean, some of the roads that have potholes, it's like you watching a scene taken in space of the moon, craters on the moon. Let's move on. I'd like to now look at the Water Authority of Fiji. As we know, the Water Authority of Fiji was corporatized and later privatized with the aim to remove the government burden and to pass it to the Water Authority of Fiji. As I said last week in this same program, water everywhere except in our drinking taps. Now, the Fiji First government, in their budget estimates for 2022-23, allocated $204 million to the Water Authority of Fiji. However, in your budget allocation, there is a drastic reduction of some $34 million, or close to 17%. What is your reason for this decrease in the allocation?
Okay. Shashi, it could be a reallocation of something from there to another head, but certainly there's no intention to reduce the allocation on water. I'll need to have my guys to look at that again. But Shashi, what you say about water is very true. What you have here, Shashi, is that there is this structure in the Water Authority that is quite demoralizing to the workers. Their contracts that are some are contracted only for a month or 2 or 3. We believe in SODELPA that there should be long-term contracts for all Water Authority workers. You see, you work on the basis that water will always be in demand and supply should always meet demand. When you corporatize, and you make it like a business, and in business, you control your supplies to meet the demand, right? Whatever you produce, you must be looking at the demand factor for you to produce what you want to produce, the goods. Water is an everyday thing. There's always demand, and there must always be supply. So corporatization of this thing is wrong. We'll relook at the whole thing. Go back to the old day. Give them stability in their in their work, and get them to continually provide the services. In this office, we had no water here for some 2 weeks ago. What happened? Something burst, and something, and it took them almost a week to fix it. You remember the old days, Sashi? There was the Water Authority people. What were they called? I think they were part of PWD. They were always there, fully employed, not on short-term contracts as they do today. So that to us is going to be the answer to this. They must be fully staffed, and on the job to supply as the demand is always there. Sashi?
All right. I mean, look, your manifesto says that access to clean water is both a fundamental right of every Fijian and an essential component of sustainable development. No qualms about that. We all know that.
Yeah.
You have said that questions relating to the delivery of service continue to be an issue.
Mm.
Your manifesto states, however, that government will be providing operating grants. Given that the current water supply to all Fijians is in a chronic state, do you think by reducing the total operating grant by close to $9 million, or a decrease of some 10%, is sustainable and it's going to improve water services by that decrease?
Sashi, like again, I said, I'll need to look at that on why that has come down to that. But like I said, it could be a reallocation to another segment of the budget. But the grants is for the authority to operate. That will certainly be always there. And as I said, we'll look at the corporatization of this thing and go back to a PWD kind of situation where they are always there all the time, as opposed to being hired on the basis of demand that we have today. Yeah? Like I said, there is no question about demand. It's always there. And supply must always be there also, Sashi.
All right, let's leave the dollars and cents out of the equation for a moment or so.
Yeah. Okay.
Simple question. Simple question. What does Viliame Gavoka think is the biggest problem at the Water Authority of Fiji?
I think that corporatization was not properly structured. And I think on the whole, Shashi, the question about privatization that started when, 30, 40 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think the jury is still out whether that is the right thing to do. I believe certain government services must always be in the hands of government. Again, like I'm saying, there's never going to be a shortage of supply, of demand. So provide the supply. When you corporatize it, and it becomes a profit-making body, that's when things go wrong. I don't think we should be looking at profits in bodies like that. What they provide is fundamental and must be provided at all times, and profit not being a factor in the equation. Oh, Sasi, I've just got my guys to explain why the reduction in those budgets. There's a lot of expatriates being paid in the Water Authority of Fiji. They cost that much, Sashi. We'll remove them and get our guys to do the job. There's a huge cost to the expatriates who are in the Water Authority of Fiji, and removing them will bring down the cost that you see in the difference between the Fiji first and us, Sashi.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that. Let's move to some news that educationists and students would love your manifesto for. Now, SODELPA has placed a great emphasis on the allocations for the higher education institutions. Firstly, if I may ask you to tell us what your policy is on education, please.
Shashi, very simply, everyone in this country must be qualified to do something and must have a skill to fall back on at any time. You must you must be skilled in something. Whether you are a bricklayer or a tiler or a plumber, electrician, or an economist, whatever, we want everyone in this country to have something. And unfortunately today, quite a number of our people don't have anything at all. And as you know, when you talk about poverty, the easiest way out of poverty is education. That is why we want everyone to be educated. And that is basically the policy of SODELPA. Everyone must be qualified in something.
Okay. Now, I note that the 2022-23 budget estimates, the Fiji First Party had the operating costs at just about $49 million. Your manifesto spells out that your operating costs will be $200 million. Now, that is an increase of a whopping 308%. How will you fund this?
Sasi, when you look at our manifesto, you look into the first few pages, we outline the revenue measures that we are going to implement. And in the revenue measures, you'll notice that our revenue is much greater than Fiji First. I think by almost $500 million there, I think, Shashi. So there's money there, and we are comfortable that we can meet the cost that we have allocated for education. If you want me, I can go into some of the revenue measures if you want me, or maybe down the line you can ask me the question, Sashi. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I think your manifesto does mention that you'll raise revenue by way of taxes and imposing fines and fees, etc. You can elaborate on that if you'd like. But please, I must warn you, Bill, don't go throwing numbers because you'll get FICAC'd. Be careful. As you know, the electoral laws are tough, so I don't want you to get into trouble, whatever you do, please.
I'm okay, Sashi, because the numbers are all here. It's just that some of those numbers had moved a bit, and I needed my guys to verify for me, like that in Water Authority, that will cut back on the cost of the expatriates who are there, who are currently there now. Sashi, our taxation for companies has decreased, has reduced the revenue for that rightfully belongs to governments. Let me give you an example. Corporate tax. Corporate tax used to be 28% in 2013. Then it went down to 20% for Fiji companies, 17% for companies who brought the headquarters to Fiji, and 10% for companies on the stock exchange. 2013. Okay, from 28%, it came down to that. And you know what it did to the revenue of Sashi? When it used to be 28%, we were collecting $421 million. When it came down to this mix now, it is down to about $120 million.
Wow.
$421 million when it was 28%, and $120 million when it came down to that 2017 and 10. Sashi, we asked a question, why? Huh? Australia, your corporate tax is 30%. New Zealand, 28%. Papua New Guinea, 30%. Tonga, 25%. Samoa, 25%. Jamaica, we've made the comparison. Why did Fiji go this way and lose out about $300 million a year? $300 million a year, Shashi, by doing that. So we will bring corporate tax back to 28%, as it was in 2013. And all these and others will give us the revenue that we need for items such as education. A lot has been given to companies, Shashi, and I spoke on this in Parliament. I made a very comprehensive statement on all those areas where we will bring back revenue that used to belong to us, but have been given away as this current government is pandering to the wishes of the big businesses. Stamp duty, Shashi, used to bring us $80 million a year. 80. This is the oldest source of revenue for Fiji, going back to 1936. They repealed it about 2-3 years ago. $80 million wiped off the treasury. We'll bring it back. Capital gains tax. It's gone down to 10%. It used to be 28%. That's another $70-80 million. All this stuff, Sashi, will be brought back. I have a very comprehensive list of them as in our manifesto. And you may want to visit my speech in Parliament around that period during the budget debates, where I did a pretty comprehensive job of highlighting, asking why we did this. And Sashi, you know what happened in the UK, yeah? When they were going to increase the corporate tax from about 19 to something from 17 to 25, and they said no, we'll bring it back to 17. You know what happened? Eh? The pound lost its value, interest rates went up, and even a government fell. Remember that? The government fell.
do.
Yeah,
I do.
So Fiji, Fiji is in the same boat. We are giving too much away. And when you give too much away, the question the British asked was, how are you going to fund your tax cut? How do you fund our tax cut in Fiji? How have we been doing it? We have been borrowing too much because we were giving too much away to the businesses. Basically,
All right.
One tax they have, Sashi, $300 million every year.
All right. So you're going to revamp the entire taxation scheme.
Absolutely.
That's what your party will do to raise government revenue. Now, a big announcement that you've done, which has also received wide coverage in the media in Fiji, is that SODELPA will wipe off all the tertiary education loan scheme, the TELS debt. What are the details in this regard?
Shashi, as of 3 or 4 months ago, that amount was $571 million. Shashi, it is a simple book entry. Oh,
right.
That's it. Simple book entry. Because the only income revenue you're getting out of that is the repayment down the lines, down the years. And the repayment was negligible, Shashi. So simple book entry, out of the books, and our people are free from the burden of debt that they were carrying.
So just a simple debit and credit entry, Vakandua, Saochi.
Absolutely, Vakandua, yeah.
All right, now, SODELPA also announced details in relation to short-term employment contracts, management of religious-owned schools, and engagement with unions and teachers. What are the details here?
Okay, Sashi, as you know, the schools used to be managed by the local organization. Eh?
Yeah, local management boards.
Sorry?
I said the local management board, the school boards.
Yeah, local management board, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that is no longer the case in terms of they were lost out in terms of running their schools. Eh? Government has taken total control over the schools now. We want to change that. We want to give it back to the local management to manage the schools. You know, they can't fundraise anymore. There's some rules against fundraising. You know, the curriculum, there are certain subjects that they may want to introduce into their community are not allowed because it has to be sanctioned by government. So we'll take back that ownership and the direction for the schools back to the local bodies. Shashi, on the short-term contracts, Shashi, let me state here very categorically, teaching is a lifetime calling. A teacher Once you become a teacher, always a teacher. That is how I was brought up, and that is how I want our teachers to go going forward. They go to universities, they go to teachers' college, qualified, and they have made a choice to be teachers. And we will make that a lifetime calling, teachers. On the unions, Shashi, as much that has gone wrong. I talk a lot with the unions. Certain conditions have been removed. They are a pretty demoralized lot, Shashi. So I want to get the unions, the FTA, and all those guys to come back and be part of the dialogue to look after the welfare of their members, the teachers.
Okay, good. Let me now change our focus, Bill, and discuss the Republic of Fiji military forces. Your manifesto states that the SODELPA government reassure the continuation of security needs and support for international conflict resolution requests. How important is the RFMF to Fiji's security, and where do you think our main threat is from?
Shashi, our military have done remarkably well. I know there's always a question mark about their role in the upheaval in this country, which is true, but that was due to bad leadership. I'm very confident with the leaders of today. I think the current officer corps are up to the challenge, and they know how to provide leadership to the men and women of the military in a parliamentary democracy. That is very critical, Sashi. Mm-hmm. I will insist that everyone in the officer corps subscribe to the type of leadership consistent with a parliamentary democracy. These guys have gone to Sandhurst. They've gone to some of the best colleges in the world. I want them to come back and apply that here, and not to be misled, and not to. By now, Sashi, they know that 87 was wrong, 2000 was wrong, and 2006 was wrong. They know that now. And I will encourage them to keep developing their capacity to be leaders of that institution in a parliamentary democracy. I keep highlighting that. They must sit at the same table as their colleagues in the British Army, the New Zealand Army, Australian Army, the American Army. They should not be pariahs, as in the past, because they overthrew an elected government. That to me is the military that I want under the SODELPA government. And Sashi, the security of the country, internal security is very important. They will provide the backup to the police, and also for regional security in terms of the Navy. A lot of drugs and a lot of stuff are coming through. We need them to be there, the Navy to be there, to be fully equipped to do all that. And also the calling into areas where we are required, in the Solomons, wherever there is a tribal sport. We are proud of our boys, of our men and women who are called upon because of their reputation and their capabilities. But down the line, Sashi, I want to see, I've spoken a lot with a number of the senior officers. I'd like to see a higher element of engineering in the military. Hopefully the day will come when it'll be totally an engineering corps, military engineering corps. There's a lot to be done in this country in terms of infrastructure, and I really would like to see the military take that on in the ways ahead. And as a training ground for our young men and women. If you come into the Army for 7 years and you become part of the engineering corps, take up the necessary courses on a part-time basis, by the time you finish, you'll be highly qualified and ready to join the CV streets. So I might just add here that we will allocate $10 million a year to those members of the military who leave the military and may wish to establish anything to go back to civilian life. That'll be a fund we'll provide for them, because a lot of them are infantry, and when the term is over, we want to give them the opportunity to take up something else and give them the funding for that. That'll be an ongoing thing, Sashi. Yeah.
All right. And there is an allocation of a total of $91 million in the budget allocation. Do you think this allocation is sufficient allocation to the Fiji military forces?
That is consistent with what they're getting today, and we'd like to keep it at that level going forward.
I realize you've partially answered what your thoughts are on the military. How confident are you that there will be no interference from the military when it comes to the people of Fiji choosing their next government?
Sasi, as I mentioned earlier, I have every confidence in the leadership today. I like what I'm hearing, and being a party leader, I talk to a lot of people, and there's a great sense of comfort that the leadership today will uphold parliamentary democracy in this country. As I said, I think they fully realize that intervention in the like of 1987, 2000, and 2006 is not what the military was intended for. And they know the repercussions. We've had to catch up. We've gone back 30, 40, 50 years because of the military intervention in that manner. So I'm very confident that when the change is made, SODELPA is the government. I'm very confident of the support from the military and the police. I'm very confident of that.
You know, you've spoken about the coups that we have had, and you've spoken about the information you're getting at the ground level as leader of SODELPA, that there will not be an intervention. Without sounding pessimistic, let me ask you, do you think Fiji can afford another coup? You've just mentioned, with the coups we've had, we've gone back so far back. Can we afford another coup?
Absolutely not, Shashi. Absolutely not. I don't think anyone in Fiji today has the appetite for anything like that. I mean, in 1987, there was a segment of the population that applauded that dashing young officer. 2000, similarly, 2006. But I think the general consensus today is that, we are no longer condone anything like that. I think that is across the country today, Sashi. Across the country, no one wants any more coup in this country. Absolutely, zilch.
All right, appreciate that response from you, Bill. We've focused on the military. What about the Fiji police force? I mean, it's been headed by a former military officer. What would be the chain of command, or what would be the thought process with the Fiji police force if there's a change of government?
Similarly, the police, they're also doing a good job. I would just relook at bringing in the military to provide leadership to the police. There are a lot of career policemen who have had capacity building over the years with experience, and I would keep the leadership from within the police force. I today the commissioner is doing a good job, but it has to be a police thing. For very obvious reasons. A lot of them have worked hard to go up the hierarchy, and I would like to give them the opportunity to make it to the top. I think it was it Savu? I think he was from the military, and Rambuka brought him down to look after the police. And then Bani Marama also had another one there. And today I would take it back and grow the leadership from within the police force. Yeah.
Let the police.
It's two separate types of discipline, the military and the
Yes.
police.
Very
So
true.
I would really, I mean, there are a lot of very, very highly qualified and special people within the ranks of the police, and I would give them the opportunity to take up the leadership when the time comes.
Okay. Let me look at another aspect of your SODELPA party manifesto. Under head number 2, Office of the Prime Minister, it is stated that the SODELPA government will allocate $36 million to the work of the Prime Minister compared to $16.8 million, which is currently allocated by the Fiji First government to the Prime Minister's office. Now, that is an increase of some $19 million in your allocation. Why is there such an allocation?
Okay, there are a number of special projects that I'd like to undertake, Shashi, under the PM's office. One, Shashi, is a $10 million allocation for the descendants of the Girimitias. With me in my lineup is a Mr. Dildar Shah. Mr. Shah, some years ago, had managed to put together a petition with some 110,000 signatures to seek redress with the Australian government and the UK government for the descendants of the Girimitias. I don't know whether you remember this. He's now part of my party, and I've undertaken for him that SODELPA will put his fund aside every year to help with the redress, and use the fund also to make the case in the British government, with the British government and CSR of the Australian government. If we can do that, Shashi, I think he's got a very good case, and he had a huge number of signatories. If the two governments can come to the party and say, okay, SODELPA, you're putting $10 million aside for the Girimitias, descendants, we'll also contribute to it. We can grow the fund to a respectable level that can really provide the redress that people have been crying for all these years. So that is one example of a project that will come under the Prime Minister's office that's contributed to that budget now.
All right. Well, if you have that allocation for the Girimitias, how do you intend for that allocation to be used? How is it going to be utilized?
Look, I will leave it to the guys to see how the structure on how we're going to use it. I mean, it's not a really big sum considering what they've gone through, but my interest is to convince those two governments to partner SODELPA government and build on that fund. What you'll do with it is up to the descendants of the Girimitias on areas where you think that you need to be supported or redress to be provided. I don't have a definitive guidelines on how to go about it. I will leave it to Dildar and his team to put that together. But as I said, my interest is to get those two governments to come to the party, the British government, Australian government, and SODELPA government, to put a fund together every year and grow it and help that redress issue with the design of the Girmitiers. Yeah.
Okay. Now I note that your total operating grant will be some $2 million below that of the Fiji First government. The allocation for capital grants and transfers will rise from the current allocation of $1 million to $20 million. Where will you find the money?
Again, finding the money is all part of the big the revenue projections that we have in our budget, Shashi. Like I said, we will have a lot more than Fiji First because of the revenue measures that we'll put in place. So all this, if you look at the beginning of the manifesto, there's more money coming into SODELPA because of the expanded revenue measures, and which will also translate to a lesser deficit than what the government has. And the government has about $1.1 billion of deficit. So SODELPA is about $800 million of deficit. Yeah.
Okay.
So in terms of funding, all that we are saying, all that we are highlighting, has been covered by the total revenue that we have established in our budget.
All right. Now, your manifesto also says that not enough emphasis has been placed by the Fiji First government on the status of Melanesian inhabitants in Fiji. Why do you think this is the case?
Shashi, I am saddened by the fact that we haven't really sat down to determine the status of our Melanesian brothers, Solomon Islanders and the Vanuatu Islanders. They're always somehow on the fringe of our society, of our community. I really would like to sit down and say, okay, you are here, you are Fiji citizens. What else can we do? What else do you need? The cry has come from them, Sashi. They've been saying, look, we don't know where we belong. We don't know what is there for us. And that is where also, Sashi, we need the Great Council of Chiefs. Because, these are our Melanesian brothers. What status can we agree to for them? And I want, and I put aside, I think about $250,000 there as consultation to go around the country and really decide on what we do to make them, give them the sense of comfort that they are Fiji citizens, as opposed to being always called Solomon Islanders, Melanesians, and all that. So that is where we're coming from, Sashi.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take that on board. Now, a question that comes to mind.
In Lautoka we have the Solomon Islanders in Navutu. You know that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I grew up a bit. I had some cousins in there, and they still carry their names from back from the Solomons, but and we could never determine exactly where they belong. I want to make sure that it is done properly, and there's a sense of finality into who they are in Fiji.
I applaud you that you've actually thought of the Melanesian community, and for example, your statement about the allocation of funds for the Girmitias. However, how it's going to be utilized is something that you'll have to go back to the drawing board. My next question is there any thought at all of compensating somehow or the other, as a healing process, victims of the past coups? Certain lives have been just totally destroyed. Is there any reconciliation thoughts at all about the real victims of the coups we've had and trying to fix their lives up?
Yeah. Sasi, thank you for bringing that up. There is that could be an area also where the Girimitia Fund can grow. As you know, in 87 and 2000, those who suffered were mostly the descendants of the Girmitiers. So that's an area where that fund can be used. But again, I'm saying I want to grow the fund. It'll be a $10 million a year provision, and hopefully the two governments can come to the party. Yes, certainly we want to look after anyone who has lost out. You know, Garase had actually set up an initiative known as the Reconciliation. I think it was a Ratu bill or something. The reconciliation, and I don't have the exact name, but Bainimarama did not like that, and it was one of the reasons he executed the coup, because he said under this bill, some people implicated in the coup might get away with with what they did. I think it was under the Ratu bill. That was said because we should have done that. Following the example of South Africa, remember?
Truth
they
and
did that. They went
Reconciliation
into
Bill.
every community. Right. That's the one. Yeah. And we had Garasa had brought in people from South Africa to set up the structure and follow the model in South Africa. But for some reason, the military at the time did not agree. They thought someone was going to get away with it, and they disagreed with it. So that is a process that could have helped with the healing, but certainly something that we will look into, Shashi.
All right.
Shashi, I just want to bring everyone back.
All right. I mean,
I just want to bring everyone back. I don't. Everyone who left, I just want them to come back. We had such a beautiful time together, and I'm just sad that people had left under those circumstances. Albeit a lot are coming back, but I tell you what, when SODELPA is in government, you will be welcomed back with open arms. That case about Dr. Brislal. He could not. They could not even come. Couldn't even come and bury him in Fiji. That is tragic. When SODELPA is in government, open arms. Please come back. Call it the diaspora or whatever. We need you. We need each other. I am always saddened by that episode in our life, Shashi. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the reasons for the Bainimarama coup, part of the reasons, but you and I both know what the real reason was for conducting that coup. It was self-interest. Let's move on. Look, you're watching Sashi Singh's Talking Point, and our chief guest today is Mr. Viliame Gavoka, the leader of the SODELPA party. Please like and share the SSTP page so that we may share the interview with Mr. Gavoka with as many people as possible. Sashi Singh's Talking Point, the Thinking People's Program. Bill, let me leave the budget allocations now and move the subject to some really interesting topics. Now, it has been stated that SODELPA and the Unity Fiji Party would have a coalition arrangement. You and Mr. Savinathan Narumbe even visited Australia together to meet supporters, etc. What happened to that relationship? Because Mr. Narumbe told us last week that the relationship was terminated.
Yeah. Shashi, unfortunately, our people on the ground were having difficulties determining how to handle the MOU. It was a great arrangement between Mr. Narumbe and myself and his key people and my key people. But on the ground, there was confusion. Who do we vote for? Because we should have combined against Fiji First and anyone else. But things became confusing on the ground. And it came to a stage where Sav and I had a talk. I said, look, this is happening. And we should relook at this. and maybe wait after the election and form a coalition, because operationally on the ground there was a lot of confusion. Who is who? We wanted everyone just to vote for us and shut out Fiji first. What was happening was that in some areas, it was people were saying, well, if you vote for SODELPA, you're voting for Fiji for unity. If you vote for unity, you're voting for SODELPA. So it took us quite a bit of time to try and correct this, but we were worried that people did not fully understand what we were trying to accomplish. And it would have led to a lot of dilution of votes between us. So we said, look, let's go back. You have your identity, go for it. We have ours, we go for it. Our people are having problems understanding what is the arrangement here. So that is the reason why we met and decided to go on our own and wait and talk after the election. They would be our coalition partner of choice, Sashi. There's no choice about it. There's a lot of commonality on our manifesto, on what we want to do. They're also looking at free tertiary, forgiving the TELS debts. So a lot of commonalities there, and they are I would say, our coalition partner of choice right now.
All right. I will come to possible coalition connections in just a while. Now, as you heard Nikhil Singh say on the news segment today, the opposition party, namely People's Alliance, National Federation Party, Fiji Labour Party, and Mr. Narumbe's Unity Fiji Party, have decided to unite for the purposes of monitoring the elections, the countdown, etc., the counting of votes, etc. They intend to have representatives or agents in every booth. The idea is that they believe surveillance and a strict vigilance will be needed to come on election day. Why has SODELPA decided not to be part of this plan?
Shashi, we were part of it from day one, and we all subscribed to a software that would be developed to help us carry out parallel counting. We were very much part of that. We were committed to it. But down the line, Shashi, they were adding things to it, like we should establish a common platform. We should all say the same thing. We should all try and unite. So it was becoming a little bit more than what we had agreed to, and we were afraid that in the process we would lose our platform as SODELPA. The way the dialogue was going was that you'll all become one, and almost like we say the same thing. So that's when he began to back up and said, no, guys, we only agreed to monitor the electoral process. There was nothing about uniting the platform. There was nothing about speaking in one voice and all that. That began to complicate things for us. That's when he decided to do our own thing. And in 2018, we did our own thing. Mm-hmm. We were in a party like this. We all agreed to share the voting venues, that SODELPA would monitor some and others would go to other parties. End of the day, Shashi, we were the ones who carried the day. They did not come to the party. It did not happen. So we will do it on our own and work on our own platform and keep SODELPA as is, and not being confused with other parties in terms of platforms and the like. Sashi?
Okay. Let me now explore with you your party's plans in the event that there is no clear majority held by a political party after the results come out. Now, you have gone on record to state that SODELPA will never compromise your political ideologies and that a coalition may only be necessary with parties of the same principles and values that SODELPA holds. Bill, you know all the political parties in Fiji. Which political party then holds similar principles and values to SODELPA?
At the outset, it would be Unity Fiji, Shashi. Yeah, we
Okay.
have a lot in common, and that would be our first choice. That would be our partner of choice.
Okay.
The others, no.
All right. Let me run this by you. Given that Sitiveni Rambuka broke away from SODELPA, and in the process, some of your key members have now defected as well. They've gone and joined him and the People's Alliance. Would it not stand to reason that the People's Alliance would have similar principles and values, similar ethos to SODELPA? Aren't they similar?
Um, on some very key elements, Shashi, no. Rambuka, Shashi, frightens me that he has articulated, he has said at one time that he would nationalize all the land in Fiji. Now, Shashi, as a people, the Itoke, land is our only leverage to remain as who we are in this country, to remain relevant in this country. For someone to say that would be genocide for us.
Mm-hmm.
And Rambuka is leaning towards same-sex marriage. So, I mean, those are definite no-nos with SODELPA.
Mm-hmm.
So, really, that would be a huge, obstacle. That would be a real no-no with SODELPA and PEPs.
All right. Okay, so you've answered that about the People's Alliance. Bill, as the election campaign fever pitch increases, there is talk, and I've heard from some close quarters, that some members of your party, current members, are talking about a post election coalition with the Fiji First Party should no one party get 28 seats outright to form government. Now, you are on record as saying that you will not rule out any party in their negotiations. Is there some talk of forming a coalition with the Fiji First if there's not one clear majority? And your seats that you acquire will be able to assist the Fiji First party to get into government again?
So, see, on Fiji First, the answer is also no. That is a position with SODELPA. Again, they are not for the GCC. They would not agree with the Itoke policies that we and I have covered quite extensively in this dialogue.
Sure.
So, as we sit here today, I say no. For SODELPA, Shashi, the ultimate decision will be by the management board. It's in our constitution that they decide on who we go to coalition with. But I'm highlighting to you that right now, PAP, as I've highlighted, and Fiji First, as I've highlighted. Right now, no on both occasions. On both
All right.
cases.
Okay, while you say no, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not trying to be rude or insulting in any way. I respect you a lot, Bill. You've said yes, but then you've said as of now. Then you've said the management board will decide. Let me put a scene out there for you. given that practically all opposition parties have condemned the governance of the Fiji First Party over the last 16 years, and given that it's the same Fiji First government that has, in some ways, belted all of you guys in opposition in the parliament, from pillar to post, disrespected your views in parliament, how could you become partners with them? So do I take it? It's a categorical no, with a big NO, that SODELPA will not join Fiji First in any coalition move. Categorical answer from you.
That would be true, Shashi. No.
All right. We'll save this part of the recording, Bill, and we will see after the 14th of December. All right. So you've said Unity Fiji Party would be your first consideration.
Yes.
Now, let me suggest to you another scenario. Elections done and dusted. Any number of possible machinations could work into forming government. Whilst you have said categorical no to two parties, if push comes to shove to form a government, would you reconsider joining other opposition parties to form a government based on the numbers you all get?
Yeah, Shashi, the beauty about SODELPA is that I have a management board.
Mm-hmm.
There are 42 people in the management board, and these are the people who have the final say. If anything comes up, like let me just say here, we are determined to win 32 seats, and we believe we can do it. That is the focus right now. 32 seats. We've done the sums. We know who will get how we're going to get it. So really, the focus is on 32 seats. So coalition, Unity Fiji is no problems. The others, no.
Mm-hmm.
And with SODELPA, I always have that 42-member management board who will make the ultimate decision for me.
All right. I buy that. And last month, the Fiji First Party General Secretary praised you and said that, and I quote, he said, "It was great to hear that SODELPA leader Viliame Gavoka is focused on telling people what they had to offer instead of talking about the flaws of other political parties." Now, he added that it was great to hear the leader of SODELPA simply saying that they are focusing on their campaign. What did you think of that praise?
Well, as vindication of the approach that we took, that we are not going to be interested in making headlines in the papers every day, highlighting the iniquities of the Fiji First government, which I have been doing for 8 years. We said, look, let's focus on solutions, hence our manifesto, and go from there. You see, Shashi, for a party leader, you have to create an enabling environment for your candidates. That was my first priority, to provide the manifesto, cost it, get it to meet the standards, so that they can go out and preach and campaign and talk about issues. And I did that about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And my guys right now are the only people in this country who can speak definitively and clearly about issues. I don't know how the other parties are doing it. The leadership of those parties should create that enabling environment for their candidates. They're not doing it. And all they do is attack the current government. And for some reason they believe that they'll give them validity. But in some areas, they have been castigated by the people and saying, can you come up with solutions? Can you come up with policies? That is what SODELPA did, and that's what I did. And that is where I was being commended by Fiji First. But you know, that commendation cost me a bit, Sashi. The insinuation that I'm being pally with them, but that's not true. I think they just noticed that we put our head down and did what was required, and to get our people out to campaign without any fear of prosecution. That's what we did, and yeah, that's what it is, Shashi.
Okay. Well, you just said a pelly situation. Let me let me take that a step further. Given the scenario that I painted earlier, where no one party can secure 28 seats required for absolute majority, let us say the negotiations begin. The horse trading starts in a vigorous manner. On one side of the equation will be you as the SODELPA leader. On the other side will be all the other opposition leaders. And on the third side will, of course, be the Fiji First Party winners. Now, given that Pali situation you spoke about, where will your allegiance lie given that he is your son in law, the General Secretary of the party? Will family pressure come into the equation? And what happens if your 42-member management board decides to go with the Fiji First Party?
Okay, Shashi, thank you for that scenario. When I talked about Pali, it's other people who are suggesting that, oh, look, I mean, it's something that has always been there, that question mark about me and the Attorney General. The suggestion that I'm too close, but nothing could be further from the truth. Family is family, politics is politics. Our policies are like day and night. Ours is totally opposite from what they believe in. And it's just that when something like that happens, in comes all these insinuations and all these suggestions that, that it's been a bit mischievous, but that's politics. That scenario, Shashi, is can happen. But as I said, I'm fortunate that I have a board that will make the final call on this one.
So if the board says, let's go with Fiji First, then you have to abide by what the board has said.
It'll certainly not because Viliame Gavoka is related to someone in Fiji First. Not because of that. It'll be a purely board decision. And I know my board, they would have to be the toughest board anywhere in Fiji. If you can make it with my board, you can make it anywhere. Sashi, I can tell you that. They're they're people who know what it is all about. And I would respect their wishes. They are very capable of making that call when the need comes for them to make that call. Shashi?
Bill, when a general leads his troop, his soldiers into battle, he doesn't enter the field of battle and makes plans as he goes. The strategy is all mapped out as to how they will enter into the battlefield. Now, you can't be trying to insinuate that your management board and you as the leader, that you haven't had any discussions so far as to what possible machinations will work out. I mean, have you or have you not discussed with the board, if this happens, this is the way we're going to go? I mean, the board must have given you some ideas whether you're going with Fiji First or not.
No, Shashi. You're right. The general knows the way forward, establishes the strategies, and the strategy is to compete and win outright, a majority outright, and that's what we are focused on. We have our turf control model, and our people will be winning their seats from their turf, from the constituencies. The support is there for them. I think some of these parties are fly-by-nights. People will go back to SODELPA, SDL, when the day comes, and we are making sure of that with our policies. I mean, do you know of any party in the history of Fiji that has these policies for the Itoke? Never. It's the first time a party has done this. And you highlighted the difference in the allocation today from $15 million to $159 million. That is resonating on the ground, Sashi. That is resonating on the ground. And we will win the 32 seats and go over the threshold. So to answer your question, no discussion like that has transpired within the management board, Sashi.
Look, as far as I'm concerned, if we look at the past history, in previous times, people voted like a block for one particular party. When we were growing up, it was the Alliance and the Federation Party. My call is now that the voters of today, they are very intelligent. They know the issues that affects them. They know where their next meal is coming from or how much struggles they have to endure. And if you're talking about Itoke issues, the voters would know exactly which political party will best safeguard their interests. And therein lies their vote. And that's my opinion. What's yours? Do you endorse what I'm saying?
Absolutely. We are the best for them. We are the Songo Songo Nduabateleonibono. Remember the SDL party?
Mm-hmm.
And a huge part of our existence is to uplift the Itoke. And I don't think there's anyone else out there that will look after the interests like us. And Sashi, I'm sure you'll know that one of the reasons we established the party was to convince our people that coups don't help anybody, least of all the Itoke. We thought the 87 coup would be good for the Itoke. People thought that. 2000 would be good for the Itoke. No, it did not happen. And that is why Ngarase and Angara Nevalu, Reta Siri, decided to form this party and make it very clear to us. Do it the legitimate way. Coups don't help anybody. And that is why our policy is out there, our manifesto, and very clearly telling our people, we can do all this in the legitimate way by winning in parliament and making laws and to enable us to acquire what we thought could be done through the gun. So that's I agree with you, Sashi. People, like I said, are tired of coups, and I believe they now look to SODELPA, which comes to them with means that are legitimate to better their lives.
All right. Let's move on to some other matters now. How confident are you with your manifesto, and what sort of result are you expecting? You've said something like 32 seats, is it? 30 seats?
Yes, 32. 32 seats, Shashi. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bill. Just excuse me.
Yeah.
Lawan
go ahead.
Ahmed, stop putting posts on this platform. We are not advertisers for Bitcoin businesses. Most of them are spams anyway. Bill, how confident are you with your leadership?
Shashi, we are now 4 weeks away from the elections. And there is a question you asked me at that time. I think an AGM was happening and you asked me that question, and I said, I'm very confident. And Shashi, there is no other way for SODELPA but the current leadership and the current. I am now, I just wish I had more time over the next 4 weeks, because I'm wanted in just about everywhere in Fiji now to come and talk and support people. And you know, it was always there, Shashi. The support for me was always there. It was this just vocal few, and compounded by those in parliament who continue to suggest that my position was vulnerable. It is not. We just had a special AGM last Saturday. I brought up the list of our candidates, and you should have seen it. The reaction, the reception from the members, was just so overwhelming. And it'll be 2 years next month since I became party leader.
Mm-hmm.
It has been very stormy, but the vast majority was always there standing with me, Shashi. So that question, secure and ready to form the next government.
All right. As we head to the home stretch, Bill, I must raise one matter with you. You have recently said in an interview with Fiji Village that in 2018, the party leader, Sitiveni Rambuka, still wanted to lead, although SODELPA had lost the elections. You said in that interview that the SODELPA constitution was quite clear that after the party loses an election, the party leader gives the position to someone else. Now, if you do not form government outright, or even in a coalition, does that mean that SODELPA would have lost the elections and you must therefore give up the leadership of the party?
Yes, Shashi, it's very clear. It was unfortunate that in 2018, it became an issue. It shouldn't have been an issue. The spirit of that provision was not respected. You can argue, you can bring up a lot of legal points and argue your points, but it's very simple. The party leader takes the party to the elections. If it wins, he becomes the prime minister. If the party loses, he gives up the party leadership to someone else. Simple. So if we win, when you win in 24 in this year, you're looking at the prime minister here, Shashi, your good buddy from Moyavi. If we lose, somebody else will be party leader of SODELPA. Very simple. We keep the spirit of the rule in place. And Shashi, might I just add, Fiji needs to get away from strongman leadership. You don't build a party around a strongman. You build a party around principles, around ideologies, and you attract good people to the party. That is what SODELPA is. SODELPA, and you bring in the right people to the party. And he has a very clear policy on leadership, the selection of leaders, so that there's a sense of continuity. Some of these parties, when the strong man goes, what will happen to those parties? What will happen to them? I've always said in Parliament, I sit across the aisle from the Fiji First and said, look, if the Prime Minister goes, what's going to happen to you guys? I've said it many times. Mm-hmm. If something happens to me, Shashi, as a leader, it'll be this another leader that will come up following the process in the SODELPA constitution. So strongman politics should be on the way out in Fiji. Party politics should be the way in. Shashi?
All right. Now, do you see the number of smaller political parties as being the, what I call, spoiler effect in dividing the opposition votes?
Yeah, unfortunately, we still don't understand how shall I put it, how the power in a democracy works. I mean, 2013 Constitution, Shashi, gives unprecedented power to the political parties. It's the only way to go into parliament. And once you control parliament, your power is virtually unlimited. We've seen it for 8 years. So let's make sure that you have a political party that can make it to parliament. Parliament is a supreme law-making body in the country. It can create laws, amend laws, and abolish laws. Okay, I mean, there's nothing else like parliament. But the only way to parliament is through a political party. I mean, that's 2013. Of course, same can be said about the other constitutions, but then you had a higher house. This one here is just one house. So it's very hard to convince our people that what they're trying to do is not going to get them anywhere. You know, you're not going to get them anywhere, but it's very hard to convince them of this. And more so, Shashi, I might have to say this, it's in the Itoke community where we don't understand this thing. Huh? They don't understand that the power is in the political party in the new scheme of things under the 2013 constitution. You lose your political party and you don't have any hope of getting the power in parliament and do what you need to do to better our country. That is why, again, SODELPA should be the party for everyone in Fiji, for our people.
Look
We've
at
been there for
Nanronga.
21.
Look at Nanronga. There's a new political party in your own province, so to say.
Shashi, I've tried to talk with them. For some reason, they believe that they can make it, but it'll be very futile on their part or anyone else's part. It's just I've been here 8 years, and I know what it's like. I lead a very big party in this country, and we know how difficult it is to make it. When you are that size, it's virtually impossible, Shashi. But this is what I can get across to these parties, and it's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
Okay, Bill, it's your moment. What is your message to the voters in Fiji, as well as those who are abroad, like myself, who are going to vote by postal ballot?
Thank you, Shashi. Firstly, thank you for inviting me again to this platform. I've always enjoyed your programs. You being ex from my neighborhood, and I know you, and you asked some very good questions, and I hope I've answered most of it to the satisfaction of our viewers. I had to rely on my team there to give me some guidance on some of the dollars that we discussed. But all in all, our manifesto is complete. As I've said, we've covered every head in government from the President's office to head 50, which is miscellaneous. And the day we become government, we hit the ground running. Because when you do a budget like this, you are indicating that you've gone through the thought process, that every aspect of government has been catered for, and that you're ready to run, to provide leadership to the government of the day. To our viewers overseas, this is another magic period, the next 4 weeks, to decide definitively on how you want your country to be governed over the next 4 years. And we believe in SODELPA that we offer an option, a choice that suits the time. I can assure you, I am an inclusive person. I'm both a local person. I'm comfortable in my village in Sila, and I'm comfortable anywhere in the world. I value everything Fijian about this country, and I value our relationship with everyone else in the world. I am very inclusive. When I travel overseas and I'm in a meeting or in a group of people and I hear English, Itoke, and Hindi being spoken, I know right away. I feel I'm in Fiji, and that's who we are, a cosmopolitan people, heterogeneous, and that is what we will protect. And those who know me know that everyone is my neighbor. I'm a Christian. And the good Lord Jesus Christ have said, love your neighbors as yourself. I love all my neighbors. My neighbors are Indo-Fijians, Chinese, European, Persian. Everyone in this country is my neighbor in the Christian sense of the word. We are ready to be your government. We've been there for 8 years. We've seen what needs to be done. We know how to run governments, how to operate in parliaments, and what needs to be prioritized to bring things back into a level playing field for everyone. I can assure you, the day we become government, they will be rejoicing in this land because they know SODELPA, they know Viliame Gavoka, a gentle and inclusive person who loves his country so dearly, a love that I extend to everyone who is a Fijian in Fiji or overseas. Please vote in the next couple of weeks, and we are one of your best options to take this country forward.
Well said. All right, now, voters, how can they access your party's manifesto?
Sasi, if you can go to our website, it's www.sodelpa.org.
Okay, just Google SODELPA and you'll go to the party's page. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And on the homepage, you'll see all about the party. And if you click on it, you'll see Manifesto 2022. Let me just remind our viewers that tomorrow in Fiji, election-wise, is an important date in the Fiji elections calendar. The candidate nominations will close at midday tomorrow, Monday the 14th. And so all your nominations have been filed. Why 53? Why couldn't you put 2 more people in there?
Good question, Shashi. We filed ours on Friday, and it's gone through. We had 55. With SODELPA, Shashi, the process of selection is quite involved. They have to come through an expression of interest, and then they are interviewed by the selection committee, which I chair. And then I take the names up to the management board for approval. And then they go up to the special general meeting for endorsements. We did that last Saturday, the full endorsement and all that. And 2 fell by the wayside. Somebody got ill, and somebody came up, was it yesterday or the day before, and said, look, I'm sorry, something has come up. I'll have to withdraw. So we cannot go back. The process is very involved. We cannot go back. But 53 is a good number. All the turfs are covered. And we have a terrific lineup of very good people. And we will win the 32 seats, Shashi. Yeah?
All right. Well, as I said, tomorrow, Monday, 14th November in Fiji, the nominations close at midday. Then the other important dates are midday on Tuesday, the 15th of November. The nominations, withdrawal, objections, and appeals have to be done by 4 p.m. And on the 15th, that has to happen. And the big one that I'm waiting for is the national candidates ball draw to determine the candidates' numbers that goes on the ballot paper. And that is scheduled for this Friday, 18th November, or as the Fiji Elections Office says, earlier, as determined by the FEO. Now, talking about the FEO, let me share with our viewers. It's a pretty good setup on their page. I logged in. There's a drop box where you scan your postal ballot paper. It goes into that drop box, and it's immediately sends you an email to say that your application for postal ballot has been received. and I was very excited that it had been received. Friday, Bill, I got a call and said, Mr. Singh, your postal ballot application cannot be approved. So I said, why is that?
Oh,
And the election staff said, well, it hasn't been completed. And I said, which particular part? And she said, your JP hasn't put a stamp on it. So I said, ma'am, I said, at the bottom of the form, there's hardly any place for the stamp. Have a look on the right side of the form, and there's the JP stamp. And she said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. So, these things happen. But as I say, exciting times ahead as Fiji heads to the polls on the 14th of December. Bill, before I let you go, I'd like to extend an invitation to you as the leader of the SODELPA party to appear in my special program on SSTP on Sunday, the 11th of December. On this Sunday, I will have all the other major opposition party leaders, your colleagues in the political arena, and we'll have a brief discussion with all of you about how your campaign went, and most importantly, give each one of you that very important delivery where you can deliver the address to the nation as a final appeal to voters. Will you please be so kind as to accept my invitation, Mr. Gavoka?
Shashi, I will be honored to be part of that dialogue on the 11th of December. That's an opportunity that I don't want to miss. That'll be 3 days from the elections, right? So that'll be a wonderful opportunity, Shashi, and I'm sure my colleagues will also be very happy to be part of that. Yeah.
Yes,
thank you, Shashi. I'll be part of that. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, all of them have indicated, but I am trying to get a commitment while I have them on air with me, because that is one final opportunity really to address the nation, because at midnight things go into a blackout period for 48 hours before the election. So that is an opportunity that you leaders get. Okay. Well, Bill, a big Vinaka Vakalevu to you. Thank you very much for being my chief guest today in episode 44. You've never said no whenever I've approached you. You've been very, very accommodating. And I say a big Vinaka Vakalevu to you for that. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you as chief guest. And I thank you for sharing your manifesto with our viewers today. Now, there are some real eye-openers in that document. Obviously, we can't go from 1 to 50. But I hope your viewers found your views interesting as well. And to you and to all your candidates, all the very best in your campaign. And I hope that you are safe from being FICAC'd in any way. I look forward to seeing you on 11th of December. So once again, thank you very much. Vinaka Vakalevu, Dhanevad, and I say to you, Nisamove.
Navalevu, Shashi. All the best.
All right. Naka, God bless, and I'll speak to you later. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Shashi.
Cheers now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, to all my viewers, before you leave, let me remind you that I will shortly announce our chief guest for next week. Now, SSTP, we ask the questions that Fijians all over the world want answers to. As I say, Fijians want to know. To all those people who've put comments on our Facebook page today, thank you very, very much. Some of you have sent stars to us, and I thank you sincerely for that as well. And I will try and get back to you as for your comments. Well, that's it for episode 44 this week. To my SSTP team, thank you for today's episode. I also thank all our viewers for watching this program. And as I said, to all of those putting your feedback on the SSTP page, thank you. Thank you for your likes and emojis, and especially those who send stars. You are what makes this platform a huge success. Now it's time for me to reveal the name of our chief guest for next week. Our chief guest for next week is going to be former Prime Minister and leader of the Fiji Labour Party, Mr. Mahendra Pal Chaudhry. There's a lot to discuss with Mr. Chaudhry, including the party's manifesto that I'm told comes out this coming Thursday. I'm really looking forward to our interview with Mr. Mahendra Pal Chaudhry, our chief guest next week. I hope you can join us for episode 45 of SSTP next Sunday. Now, for people in California, in Los Angeles, and San Francisco, you would have realized that due to your daylight saving time change, the program now starts at 4 p.m. in your zone. So 4 p.m. in LA, not Lambasa, Los Angeles, and in San Francisco. And as usual, 11 o'clock in Sydney, 1 p.m. in New Zealand, and 4 p.m. on Saturday afternoon in Los Angeles and San Francisco. So until the next episode, I wish you all a safe and happy week. And in closing, I'll leave you with this quote from Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek said, "Leadership is not about the next election. It is about the next generation." I'll repeat that. Leadership is not about the next election. It is about the next generation. Well, remember, Fiji, your vote has power. Exercise your right to vote. That's it for episode 44 of Sashi Singh's Talking Point. Next week, episode 45. Till the next program, I am Sashi Singh bidding you goodbye, namaste, and ni samore. Goodbye, world.